everyone, I'm Ariana and welcome back to my channel. So I'm really excited. I know I seem like I'm excited every time I get on here, but today I'm actually really excited because I have something new to try out today, and I'm going to be doing a 3 looks with 1 palette. And the palette that we're going to be using is the McGrath Subversive La Vie and Rosa palette. I'm very excited about this palette. Let me make sure that I'm saying that right. McGrath MTHRSHP Subversive La Vie in a Rose palette, and it looks like this. The art on the cover, can we just talk about this for a second? This was very well done. This is very well done. It's beautiful. There were 2 other small palettes like this in her collection that she brought out. They are meant to go with her bigger MTHRSHP palettes. Those palettes are $125. I do not own one. They're way too expensive for me. But this palette was much cheaper. It was more than half the cost of that. And since I've never tried McGrath's shadows before, I was really excited to see if the quality was what everyone says it is. So I really decided to treat myself by getting this. I purchased this palette in particular, even though she did have 2 others, but I wasn't interested in the color scheme of the other ones. I was only interested in this one. So this is what it looks like on the inside. We have a lot of beautiful purples here and a couple of pinks and a gold up there in the corner. I thought I could get some really beautiful looks out of this, and it seemed like something unique to my collection, something that I don't already own. This palette is not something that I could use on its own, really. I think I would still have to dig into maybe 1 or 2 other palettes, but I'm perfectly okay with that. And that was her intention anyway, so I'm not upset by that at all. I'm going to try to use every single color in this palette over the next 3 days so that we can really get a good look at what is going on here, what kind of looks I can create, and what the quality is looking like, and whether or not I feel like it's worth it for you. I did purchase my palette during the VIB sale, so I did get it at a discount. I did not pay full price for it. When do I ever pay full price for anything? I'm already purpled out for the day, so I'm probably gonna do a purple look on my eyes. I will tell you the shade names though. They have the shade names on this little sheet of paper, so I'm just going to read them. I wanna read them this way to this way, and then this way to this way. So the very first one over here is called Pale Fire, and then we have Purple Rain there in the middle, Gold Nectar in the corner, and then starting back over here we have Paranormal, Rose Risque, and Euphoria over there in the corner. And you can see my little teddy bear. Hey Barry, how you doing? I've already done my face makeup, so I'm just gonna start by priming my eyes with some concealer. You can use whatever concealer you like, whatever concealer you already own, or you can use an eyeshadow primer if that's what you like. And I'm just gonna set that concealer using a cream base shade. You can use whatever cream base you already own. You can use a face powder. It doesn't really matter, just make sure you're setting your eyelid with a color that is close enough to your skin tone. And I do want to bring you in just a little bit closer, so that you can really see what I'm doing here with these shadows. Oh yeah, real up close and personal. Okay, so I want to start with a nice fluffy brush like this. This is the Wet n Wild crease brush, and I'm going to go into this matte purple shade here. And I'm going to use this kind of as a transition shade for my eyelids. That did apply a little bit patchy, so I'm actually going to go into my e.l.f. Mad for Matte palette and pick out a color from here to try to transition it a little bit better. I just decided to pick up this light pink shade, and we're going to see how that works a little bit better. And now I'm going to go back into the same matte purple shade, and now I feel like we'll be able to work with it a little bit better. So I did get a much better blend that way. So now that I've gotten that transition into my eye, I'm going to take a I'm going to take a pinched fluffy brush like the Wet n Wild. Now I'm going to take this pinched fluffy blending brush. I believe this is called just the Fluffy Blending Brush by Wet n Wild. I'm going to take this type of a brush, and I'm going to go into this purple shade here and put that on the inner and the outer portion of my eye, because I think I'm going to create a halo look today. And I'm just going to place that, tap that carefully into the outer corner of my eye. And now I'm going to dip my brush back into that same color and pop it here on the inner portion of my eye. And I'm actually going to blend the tops of this together because I think it'll make the look come together a little bit better in the end. And I'm just blending those two areas together and then kind of blending them up a little bit and diffusing the color out a little bit more. This is probably the most vibrant purple I own, and it's beautiful. So now what I'm gonna do is take a flat shader brush. This is actually a concealer brush by Bobbi Brown, concealer blending brush by Bobbi Brown, excuse me. And then I'm gonna take this beautiful light purple shimmery shade and pop that into the center of my lid. That applied fine with the brush, but I do want to see how it applies with my finger. So I'm just going to take my finger into that same shade and again just pop it right here on the center of my lid. So now I'm going to go back into my Wet n Wild fluffy brush, my Wet n Wild tapered fluffy brush, and kind of blend out these edges a little bit more just to make the look a little bit more refined. I'm going to go back into my same pinched fluffy brush and go into this plum color here. And I'm just going to tap that a little bit and get a little bit of pigment on my brush. And now I'm going to lightly run this on my lower lash line. Alright, well I think that looks beautiful. I'm just going to go off camera really quickly and put a little bit of inner corner highlight. Maybe add some liner and mascara, finish up the rest of my face makeup, and I will come back to you and let you know how everything looks, obviously. Alright, so this is the final look for the day. Hopefully you like it. I really like the way the look turned out. I thought the shadows blended really nicely. So I guess I will see you again tomorrow to see what kind of look I can come up with then. Hello everyone, and welcome back for day 2 of our 3 Looks 1 palette using the Pat McGrath MTHRSHP Subversive palette. So the last look I did, I used a lot of the purple shades, so I think today I want to go in with some of these pinker shades here. I'm not exactly sure what kind of a look I'm going to be able to come up with, but I have kind of decided that this palette is not really a standalone palette, so I'm going to be using the Mad for Matte 2 palette to supplement it for some of these matte shades that I'm missing in this palette, matte and transition shades that I'm missing in this palette. Okay, so I brought you in just a little bit closer so that you can really see what I'm doing. The last time I used this palette, I primed my eyelids with concealer, but this time I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use an actual eyeshadow primer just to see how the shadows work with that. Okay, so starting off with my e.l.f. Mad for Matte palette, I'm just going to take this brown shade right here, and set my primer with it. And for my transition shade, I'm going to go in with this light peachy pink shade. And I'm just taking that right into the crease. Okay, so those were just very basic colors. You can use any eyeshadows that you already own with this palette, so that's why I chose pretty much the simplest colors possible so that the main colors can come out of the Pat McGrath palette. So first I think I'm going to go into this bright pink shade. So I just have a little bit on my brush here, and I'm going to work that into the crease of my eye. So this pink color doesn't really show up quite the same. The pigmentation takes a little building. Just for this shade, it seems so far. The purple shades from the other day didn't really do that. And now with this Bobbi Brown crease brush, I'm just gonna take this light pinkish peachy pale fire. It's called Pale Fire. I accidentally dug my nail into it when I opened it up. Yep, but I'm just gonna grab a little bit of that and I'm gonna put it all over my lid. So far I'm gathering that the shimmers in this palette apply a little bit better when using your finger as opposed to a brush. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back into this fluffy blending brush, and I'm actually gonna use this matte plum shade, and I'm gonna take this into my crease a little bit. I'm just gonna blend out the edges a little bit. And what I want to do is just take a little bit more of this pink and kind of put it right here in the inner portion of my eye. Yeah, this pink shade is a little stiffer than the other ones, but I'm just gonna put this right here. And now I want to take a bit of this gold shade here and kind of dip it in the inner corners of my eyes. And just for experimental reasons, I kind of want to dip into this shimmer shade one more time, this color Pale Fire, and see if I wet it, will it intensify any of this shimmer happening, because you can't really see it on camera, but it does have a really nice like shift to it where it's peach and then kind of shifts pink. I'm gonna try to amp it up a little bit. Alright, and I'm just gonna go put on some liner, lashes, or excuse me, I'm just gonna go put on some eyeliner, some mascara, and some lip gloss, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the final look. I think it's a really cute spring, flirty kind of look. I just added some plum purple eyeliner and a little bit of mascara and tight lined. I didn't really add anything else on second thought. I do want to add just a little bit of this pink on the lower lash line here. Okay, so now I am officially done. I will see you again on a different day to try out my third and final look, and then give you some final thoughts on this palette, on the shadows, how they perform, how I feel about them, should you buy it, is it worth the price, etc, etc, etc. I will see you next time. Okay, welcome back for day 3 of this try on video, try on 3 looks, 1 palette kind of thing. The last 2 times I used this palette, I tried to use shades that I hadn't used yet, but I've managed to use all 6 of the shades in this palette so far. So what I'm gonna do now is try to use all of the shades together, and I'm gonna try to do a full look with using only this palette, since the last 2 times I used it, I used something else and just kind of used this as a supplemental palette to pair with other palettes. So I'm coming to you already zoomed in. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into the palette. So I've already primed my eyelids and also set my eyelids. I did have to use another palette with a cream shadow in order to do that, but everything else I'm gonna try to use only this palette. So right off the bat, I'm just gonna go ahead and dip into this pink shade here. I felt like this shade was pigmented, but not so pigmented that I couldn't use it as like a transition shade. So I'm gonna do that and just kind of build the color up. I actually really like that it's so buildable, that way you're not going in so hard. And you can use this palette alone if you so choose. So I think that that gives it a little bit more versatility, and I like that. And I'm just gonna take a smaller brush and go into the plum shade and pop that into my crease. And these are the only 2 matte shades. The pink isn't even really a true matte. It's more of a satin. Yeah, I think that's enough for the plum. I'm not gonna dig too far into that. I'm not gonna build that color up too much, but I am gonna go back into this beautiful like royal, I guess, violet type color, and I'm gonna put that color right here on the outer corner. Okay, so I'm trying to use as many colors as possible here. I'm gonna go in with this flat shader brush into this gold shade here, and I'm gonna try to pick up a lot of it, and I'm gonna place that on the inner portion of my eye. So I'm gonna use this cream shadow on my inner corners just to give the shadow a place to stick. There's a little bit of fallout with this formula. It's stiff enough for it to not be too much fallout though, which is good. And go in with this light purple shade. And I'm just dabbing a little bit of that on the inner corner of my eye. And last but not least, I'm going to take this color here. It's the only color that I remember the name of, and it's Pale Fire. Well, this one's called Purple Rain, but if I had to tell you the rest of these, I could not tell you. But anyway, I'm going to take Pale Fire, just a little bit, and I'm going to pop this up on the brow bone to highlight. Now with my fluffy brush again, I'm just going to take a little bit more of that pink shade and blend it up a little. And I'm just gonna dust away some of this fallout happening. I'm gonna go in with this little angled brush here from e.l.f. back into Purple Rain, and I'm gonna run this along the lower lash line. So I'm just gonna go put on some I always say lashes, I don't even wear lashes. I'm gonna go put on some mascara, some eyeliner, and possibly a highlighter and a lip color, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this is the final look. If you are wondering what my lip color is, it is the Sephora lip stain in the shade Polished Purple, I believe, number 15. So yeah, let me go ahead and give you my overall thoughts on this palette. So as far as this is concerned, the packaging is an A+. I love the originality of the trifold here. I also love that you get this huge mirror. Now the shade selection is something really unique to my collection. I don't have a lot of shades like these individually. I think I may have a color like this, and I'm sure that I have several golds, but this color combination is very unique to my collection, which is why I decided to pick this up. The formula is stiffer than I expected. I kind of expected them to be softer, like Anastasia shadows, but they were a little bit more stiff, kind of like ColourPop shadows. The pigmentation of these pink shades here was kind of lacking for me, although it did build up nicely, so that was fine. I don't really mind working with a shadow to get it to build to the intensity that I want, but it is something that I was kind of disappointed in, but not entirely, because now I can use it as a transition shade. It really just depends on how you look at it. This shade here didn't really show up all that well on me, but I think it would work nicely for someone who were darker than me or maybe lighter than me. But for me, it's kind of the same sort of tone as my skin color, so that kind of had something to do with it, but it is still a beautiful shadow. Overall, I like this palette. I've liked all three of the looks that I came out with, and the wear time for each time that I've done my makeup with this, it has really lasted a long time. I'm saying like hours, all day. The shadows look like I had just put them on. They weren't creasing, they didn't look all crepey and gross or weird. For that alone, for a stay all day kind of look, I think that this is 100% worth your time and effort and money if you like these colors. If you're more of a neutral tone lover, I know that there are two other palettes like this in the same formula. There's a different picture on the front of each of them, but the packaging itself is the same. Those two are a little bit more neutral. So if you don't have a whole lot of browns and gold shimmers and bronze colors in your collection already, and you're looking to try something with a really great formula, I say go for it. But if you're not in the market for the color selection, then I'd say don't waste your money, because if you already have these colors, it would be redundant. I do not have these colors in my collection in these finishes or in this color combination, so for me, it really filled a void in my collection, but it may not for you. That is pretty much the end of my review. I don't have a whole lot more to say about this palette, but if you do have any questions or any suggestions for other videos, please let me know in the comments below, and I hope that you join me again for my next video. See you later, bye!